Hey, what's up, mortals? It's Hallie here with a new video for you. Welcome to Season 1, Part 2 of What If Deku Had Nanomachines. I just wanted to greet you guys by just saying, sit back and relax. You're in for a treat. So we begin. Izuku Midoriya approached the gates of UA High School as one of its students for the first time. His smile was wide and his confidence was sky high. I'm sure everyone in the hero course knows me by now. Won't take long for them to be able to put a face, a voice, and a character to the name. I put on a show in the entrance exam, and I'll do the same now. I already have the power to match All Might. All that's left is the presentation. Consumed by his thoughts, he barely even noticed as another student arrived at the door of Class 1A, where he would be studying. Izuku subconsciously shoved the student out of his way as he opened the door. "It's good to see you too, Izuku," an all too familiar voice said, hate coursing through his every word. "Kachan?" Izuku asked hesitantly, turning to face the student. "Don't call me that," the blonde boy said, before grabbing Izuku with his right hand. The greenette shuddered as he felt the mechanical grip tighten around his arm. "So that's what they did, huh?" Izuku said. "You'd think today's technology would be enough to restore—" Before the arrogant boy could finish his sentence, a fist found his face. His cheeks darkened, veins pulsating out of it, hardening it before Bakugo's knuckles made contact with his skin. "If you're asking for an apology, you won't get one. A hero serves justice," Izuku said. "Though punching me in the face is doing you no favors," the greenette continued. "Shut the hell up! 1,000 apologies aren't worth what you took from me," Bakugo said, trying to push the muscular teen into the wall. He was unable to budge the quirkless boy. Izuku knew, somewhere deep down, that Bakugo did not deserve what had happened to him. But he had repressed that knowledge. After all, if he allowed those ideas of him doing wrong and dealing undeserved punishment to an innocent to run rampant in his mind and potentially others' mouths, there was no way he could be the next All Might. So, if any of the few people aware of the full situation asked, he would tell them that Bakugo was discriminating against him and that what he had delivered was deserved justice. He had done no wrong, and only gave what was given to him. Sometimes, on sleepless nights spent staring at his room's ceiling, he wondered if that event had shaped his mentality and his sense of justice. And sometimes, he'd even doubt this sense of justice. Though, this doubt wouldn't last long. How could it? There was no way there could be any flaws in the justice dealt by the next All Might, right? The boy was snapped out of his thoughts as the door to the class opened, and all the other students in the class stared at the two from the opening. Bakugo dropped his gloved hands, and Izuku's hardening faded. The two walked into the class, an aura of hate burning between the two of them. Ochako Uraraka stared at the two, nudging the girl sitting beside her, Yui Kodai. "Those two have some long history," the brunette told Yui. "I can tell," the black-haired girl responded flatly. She had a long bob cut, and was rather fit. Notably, she had an emotionless look on her face. The two boys took seats. This was the first time that less than 40 total students even reached the point threshold where they were considered to be allowed into UA's hero course. 19 students per class, as opposed to the usual 20. Though, that was far from the most outstanding part of the situation regarding the first-year hero students. They didn't have to wait long before their homeroom teacher appeared. Or, more accurately, rose up, out of the yellow sleeping bag he was resting in at the foot of the class's podium. He looked disheveled and sleep-deprived, with long, messy black hair falling around a scarf and a pair of yellow goggles. "The name's Shota Aizawa. I'll be your homeroom teacher. Now, after I take attendance, we'll be heading to the courtyard. Screw orientation. There are better things to do with our time," he said. Izuku felt the teacher looked familiar, though the fact that he didn't instantly recognize the man was more surprising than anything. After all, every teacher at UA is a pro-hero, and Izuku had a vast knowledge of them. After all, understanding the skill sets and mindsets of those who had made it was essential if one wanted to arrive at the same place. Or, in Izuku's case, understanding those who had failed to make it. Since his goal wasn't simply becoming a hero, but becoming the symbol of peace. After attendance, the class quickly changed into their PE uniforms, meeting Aizawa in the courtyard. Once the class was gathered, the teacher announced what they would be doing. "You'll be doing quirk assessment tests. I'll be running you through physical tests that will test your control over your quirk in common situations." The class didn't react very much to this, They were mostly mildly disappointed, as missing in orientation was something rather disappointing to many. Then, Aizawa continued, "You'll be scored. Whoever gets the lowest score also gets expelled." At that, the class erupted into chaotic murmurs of fear and shock, but Izuku stood out among the others. His smile only got wider, and he looked like he was barely stopping himself from swinging his head back and laughing. "One more scene to turn into my show," Izuku thought confidently. He had a plan, as usual. By the end of the test, everyone in the class wouldn't just know his name, they would know his power. The first test was a sprint. Some students, such as Uraraka, had quirks that helped him in the test. The brunette's quirk allowed her to levitate anything, including herself, so long as she touched them with her fingers. But even these quirk-enhanced scores wouldn't have beaten Izuku if he sprinted as fast as he could. His nanomechanically enhanced body was unstoppable after all, but he didn't go full power. In fact, Izuku didn't even run. He calmly walked the 50 meters, leaving the other students' jaws dropped. "What in the world is he doing?" Ochako muttered, nudging Yui, who was once again beside her. "Ask him," the athletic girl said simply. Aizawa was staring bullets into the boy by the time he reached the end of the track. "He knows exactly what I'm doing, but it's too late for him to back down," Izuku thought. A similar pattern repeated itself for every consecutive test. In ball throwing, Izuku simply dropped the ball. In distance jumps, he hopped in place. In grip strength, he barely tugged the handle of the testing machine. By the end, the results were beyond clear. Izuku had come in dead last, without a shadow of doubt. Of course, everyone in the courtyard knew that he could do more. After all, his domination of the entrance exams was already becoming something of a legend in the halls of UA. "All right, what I said still stands. Izuku Midoriya, you're expelled," Aizawa said, with more emotion than the students thought possible from the seemingly exhausted teacher. "I don't think I am, sir," Izuku replied simply. This video is sponsored by Skillshare. With the services Skillshare provides, you can get easy access to many in-depth tutorial videos on basically anything you want to learn. Each class that they have is bound to help you with your creative endeavors. Do you want to learn how to make videos like this one? Do you want to learn how to write scripts or edit audio? Skillshare has you covered, and with our link, you can have a 14-day free trial. So what are you waiting for? Click the link now and get 14 days worth of classes free. Link in description below. Mutters and whispers spread among the gathered students. "What's he trying to do?" He did it to himself. "There's no way he's getting out of this. That guy's crazy." The students had no idea what to make of this guy. Aizawa sighed, visibly annoyed. "I said I'd expel last place. It doesn't take a genius mathematician to calculate who got last out of this group. I'm a man of my word," the teacher said, visibly restraining himself from slapping Izuku. "I'm sure you are, sir, but I'm saying this in your interests. How would it look to the principal when he sees that the student who single-handedly disabled every robot in his battle center gets expelled on the first day?" Izuku countered. "Treat this as a second entrance exam, that you failed. Doesn't matter what score you got in the first one, boy," Aizawa said. "An entrance exam is supposed to measure the abilities of the potential students, right?" the boy in question asked. "So, does this count as potential?" Before the word potential was fully out of his mouth, Izuku was in front of Aizawa, a smirk on his face, and a fist inches from the teacher's nose. Before Aizawa could react, Izuku was suddenly behind him, hand inches away from the tired hero's throat. Aizawa tried to use his scarf, which was revealed to, in fact, be a weapon, controllable capture tape, to wrap the student, but Izuku was back in line beside the other students by then. Aizawa's eyes were glowing bright red now, and his hair was standing on its ends. "That's who he is! The underground hero, Eraserhead! He has a strong quirk. Erasing someone else's quirk as you look at them is perfect for capturing dangerous villains. But he doesn't like publicity, which is where he falls short," Izuku thought. The student looked the enraged teacher dead in the eyes. His hands darkened, veins popping, and he clenched them into fists, before slamming them into each other. The impact made a loud clanging noise, but the shockwave emanating from it, pushing all the students around him back like a bomb had went off, was the thing that truly stood out in this display. Clearly, Aizawa's erasure had no effect on him. The management knows I don't have a quirk, which means he should too, which just leaves him either not believing them or acting impulsively and without a plan. From what I know of Eraserhead, it's most likely the former, Izuku thought, though I'm sure he's changed his mind now. You haven't helped your case one bit, kid, Aizawa said venomously, eyes returning to normal. The whole class was in silence, watching the confrontation in awe. So you'll expel me because you can't control me? Sounds an awful bit unheroic of you, sir. I thought you were supposed to raise the next generation of heroes to be stronger than the last, to be able to uphold justice better than any before them, Izuku said. Expelling me would only prove that even heroes abuse their power like authoritarian dictators. A hero doesn't just beat up villains, Aizawa said in response. A hero protects the innocent. A hero respects those around him. And all you've shown me is arrogance and disrespect. Just because you can hit hard doesn't mean you're a hero, the teacher said aggressively. I don't know what I expected from the first day, but a standoff like this was not it, Ochako told Yui, who silently nodded in agreement. Please, sir, you're only making yourself look worse. I didn't think I'd have to explain everything to you, Izuku said exasperatedly. Aizawa wanted to dash towards the boy and strangle him, but that wouldn't do anyone any good. He instead bit his tongue and simply said, Sorry to disappoint. Explain your motivations. Izuku smiled at this. He turned around, looking at his fellow students. Now, say I had gone all out. Izuku glanced at the scoreboard before continuing. Either Mineta, Toru, or Kyoka could have realistically gotten last place, he said. The 3 students had gotten second, third, and fourth to last, respectively. They all seemingly shrunk a little, not wanting to be pulled into this. Now, forgive me, but would any of you 3 argue with our good teacher here to stay in UA? And if you did, forgive me again, but do you think you would have any reason to listen? None of you showcased anything extraordinary in the entrance exams, and your performances were far from spectacular during this test, Izuku said. The 3 students in question seemed to shrink further with every word. Hey! Don't need to drag them into this! What did they do to you? A boy with spiky red hair, Eijiro Kirishima, asked. Izuku stared at him with a glare of annoyance. Let me finish, he said simply, before continuing. This test isn't the best designated set of exercises. Kyoka's earphone jacks have immense amounts of potential in reconnaissance. Toru's invisibility is perfect for infiltration, and Mineta's sticky spheres are perfect for non-lethal neutralization, Izuku said, mutters spread throughout the class. For once, they were praising Izuku. While I admit a hero needs to be physically fit, it's not fair to grade a student whose quirk cannot help them in most or all of these tests the same way as a student whose quirk can. And to make matters worse, this is an assessment test for our quirks, and so many students can't even use their quirks to help them. In the context of this test, a disturbing proportion of students are effectively quirkless. Aizawa was left speechless. This guy was something like he'd never seen before. Expelling him now would be digging his own grave. And so, seeing this injustice, I took it upon myself to protect those treated unfairly by coming in last on purpose. Someone like me, or maybe the recommendation students, are effectively immune from expulsion. Since, if word got out that a recommendation student, or the student that broke the entrance exam, was expelled on day 1, the media would pounce on the school like vultures, a risk they're not willing to take. My actions followed us all to continue as classmates, and all strive to be heroes without suffering injustice from a poorly designed test. Izuku finished his speech. Though there was no applause, the class descended into chaotic murmurs. He's right! I never thought about it that way. Honestly, we should probably thank him. Izuku smiled wide and turned around again to stare at the seething Aizawa. Fine, you win. And I guess you're right about the test, the teacher said, sighing. Now get back inside, all of you, the hero said, sounding exhausted. The class obliged. Aizawa noticed that Izuku had now built himself a small entourage. Aizawa headed inside as well, towards Principal Nezu's office. Once he entered, he didn't wait a second before saying, That kid, he's insane. He's strong, he's smart, and he's an arrogant prick to boot. Hello to you as well, Aizawa, Nezu replied jokingly. And yes, his mother did warn us for a reason, but you cannot say he is malicious, can you? No, I can't. He makes me want to punch him in the face, but he's not a bad person by any means. I'm just afraid of what that kind of attitude can do to a person. I can't help but feel that he could be manipulated easily by fueling his ego, Aizawa said, concerned. While I understand your concern, I think that his ego is too great for even that to happen. He listens to one person, himself. And as long as he has humanity's best interest in mind, I don't think letting him be arrogant is the worst thing we can do, Nezu said. There's one more thing, Aizawa added hesitantly. I'm not sure about it, since I didn't hear the whole exchange from my sleeping bag, but I think that Midoriya and Bakugo have some history. In the hallways of UA, Izuku Midoriya had just shaken his entourage. They weren't his middle school cheer squad. They were more curious about his quirk than anything, but they had to let him be for now. Moving quickly, Izuku managed to find the person he was looking for, Katsuki Bakugo. He was standing alone in the hallway, leaning on some lockers. Katsuki, Izuku greeted him calmly. You're dropping the nickname, huh? Bakugo spat back. You told me to, Izuku replied simply. I told you to stop back then, Bakugo said, clenching his right gloved fist. You sure as hell didn't listen. I'm here to tell you that the past is the past. I did what I did. I can't take it back. You said what you said, and you can't take it back either, Izuku said indignantly. Bakugo grabbed the boy, trying to push him into the lockers, unsuccessfully. Don't even try to pretend that what I said was justification for what you did. You're not even close to being on the same level, Bakugo said, fire behind every word. Words are as harmful as... As harmful as what? I don't see you with any scars. I don't see you with a prosthetic and a crippling inability to shake anyone's hand. I see you with simps and yes-men, with reputation and power. At that, Bakugo turned around and left, leaving a speechless Izuku behind. He stood there for almost 5 minutes, without moving a muscle. It's as if what Bakugo said was too much for him to process. Although, Yui Kodai and Ochaku Uraka, who happened to be around the corner, having secretly followed Izuku as they saw him rushing down the halls, understood every word of what Bakugo had said. Thank you all for indulging yourselves in all this information thus far. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, there are a few more things that I'd like to go over before the video ends. Firstly, I'd like to thank our patrons. BD Flames, Ethan Davis, Terry Chills, Shifter Meals, Adam Zagel, Zill, Zavbeat03, and Joshua Phelps. Secondly, I'd also like to thank all of our YouTube members. Toy Acosta, Rob the King, Sith Lord 906, CF2364 and Knuckles, Rimu Tempest, Angel Juarez, Donald C. Stewart, Bryant Greer, and Demonized Fox. Thirdly, if you're in the mood for some great storytelling, We the Celestials has you covered. Our We the Celestials My Hero Academia and Naruto What If channels retell the story of their namesake anime with a twist. Check it out if you're interested. Fourthly, on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in today's excellent content production. Their details can be found in the description below. Lastly, if you're interested in what we do here at We the Celestials, I'd like to extend an invitation to join the team. The only caveat is that we only accept members from 16 years old to join our crew. You can sign up for whichever category fulfills your interest by joining the recruitment Discord using the link in the description below. We're always looking for members to join us. Well, that's it from us for today's video. So thank you all for watching and have a great day.